Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kurojiri, your resident tinkerer and Medarotter, and this is the Medarots News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet fighting robot series. Now, this week in particular is actually kind of special for the history of the mainline Medarot titles, and that's the fact that as of yesterday, actually, August 28th, back in the 2014, Medarot 8 was officially introduced to the main storyline and mainline games of the Medarot franchise, only to be joined about a couple of years later by Medarot 9. This week, of course, though, celebrating the anniversary of such a monumental game in the mainline series, introducing a lot of fun mechanics, new bots, and of course, a brand new story with new characters. This time around, of course, we are seeing the introduction of not one, but two models that we actually have seen originally as an enemy NPC. And for those that have played Medarot 8, will recognize the thousand-eyed Angel of Death that you see here, that will also be gracing the game with an official debut going forward as of today. But that's only just the tip of the iceberg for what was announced, because there is a lot, and I mean quite a bit actually, of a lot of mini events and dungeons that are going live to celebrate and honor the release and anniversary release of Medarot 8 back in 2014. That being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what was announced this week going forward, starting of course with the gacha banners, and highlighting those two. The first of all, the two newcomers anyway, the first of which is AZL0 Salvation, the Azrael type, with a kit of Canceller, double ghost shot, float legs, and the leg ability of Clairvoyance. Now, of course, you're going to first see Ghost Shot there and think, oh my gosh, this is going to be fantastic for all my high-end nukers. And you're 100% correct, actually. Salvation is one of those models, as actually a boss-type model, no less. But the really nice thing to know about this one is it's triple heavy with float legs, but it's not as absurdly broken as other boss-type bots, such as, say, Artemis or Spinag or God Emperor might be. While Salvation can most certainly pack an absolute wall up here, its stats actually manage to balance it out, so it's not going to be nearly as powerful or as imposing if you can take him down quickly enough. Next to Salvation, we also have the official introduction of GBL0 Yatakro, another newcomer from Medarot 8, sporting a kit of Full Charge, Double Charge Buster, Light Legs, and the leg ability of Carnage. Now, Yatakro is also fully capable of transforming into a full-fledged Crow type, and in this form, it'll exchange its kit out entirely for Desperate, Lash, Charge Blade, but it retains Flight Legs, but switches its leg ability for Auto Charge. Now, for a lot of models that actually do make use of Full Charge in some realm or the other, they usually have some kind of fallback to where it's really tricky to use them as a full synergetic set. But Yatakro seems to work pretty well unto itself, honestly, despite being relatively easy on light on the armor and high on the mobility, which is, of course, expected of a flight-based model like he is, but still going to be a very useful model all the same. Now, these aren't the only two that are going to be gracing the gacha banners this week going forward for the Medarot 8 anniversary, as we are also getting a couple reruns of other fellow Medarot 8 vets that have graced the game from that day forward. And starting that lineup is a model we have not seen for nearly 2 years now, actually, if my records are accurate since I started recording, and that is the re-release of KWGXX Maquette, the mystery black sheep of the Stag Beetle type family, and the strange prototype that specializes in the high-end power cannon, with a kit of radar sight, microwave, hammer, biped legs, and the leg ability of artillery. Behind him, we also have the release of SAM-01M Protomusha with Reckless, Double Beam Sword, Biped Legs, and Carnage, and the release as well of the female variant SAM-01F Tomoe, with a kit of Fight Boost, Beam Sword, Charge Drain, Biped Legs, and also with the Carnage-like ability. Now, between these three here, and of course Salvation and Yatakro, you really can't ever go wrong with picking one model or the other when it comes to which one should I pull for. Or, if none of the models seem to tickle your fancy at all, you can also take this as a skip week and choose to focus more on events and mini dungeons that are also going live this week to recoup the Ruby stock. Because, let's be real, the Transformers collab a couple weeks ago, pretty much all through this month, as amazing as it was a pretty nasty Ruby's vacuum, because it was also the first collab introducing meta change models. And given how unforgiving those banners can be, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if not a lot of folks tend to go after these in favor of recouping their resources just a little bit longer for something a little more favorable. But with the addition of this, our Fierce Battles this week, we actually had a little bit of a surprise on, because they're not only also Medarot 8 vets here with EPI-0 Bonecracker, the Epi-Kion type Prehistoric Canine, with a kit of Heel Trap, Double Sword, Float Legs, and Straight Leg ability. Following him, we also have WEA-032 Shisaku 2 with Charge Buster, Press, Power Rifle, Tank Legs, and the Trap Buster leg ability. And then last but certainly not least, GRM-0 Wild Ukon with Rifle, Double Hammer, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Radiator. Now, between these three models here in particular, again, they are all Medarot 8 vets, which is going to be the really big highlight of this week. All the models are honestly really good. In particular, Bonecracker is going to be really nice for basic sword and relatively decent float legs at best, especially when it comes to male types. But I still honestly have to give the MVP of the week to Shisaku 2, given that even though it is, for lack of a better term, a free weapon type in congruence with the family, and will be just a little bit expensive to raise, its parts are actually still pretty solid to make use of, and is a very nice poor man's or new player's weapon type before they can get a hold of stronger ones, such as the Final Product, Death Providence, God Emperor, Imagine Kaiser, or so on and so forth. And of course, Wild Ukon as well is pretty solid for conventional melee more than shooting, but honestly, again, I still would have to give the MVP of the week from these three to Shisaku 2 for just a more varied kit that you can make use of across the board. Even if it is triple heavy with tank legs, ditch the legs, maybe switch the arms out for other things, you can make good use of them. But that's not the only surprise we have, because we have not one, but two batches of 3 when it comes to Fierce Battles this week. The other batch in particular is starting off with MOL-0 Horny Devil, the Horned Desert Lizard type, with a kit of Fire Shot, Double Missile, Wheeled Legs, and the Desert type leg ability, and the return of the strange other black sheep of the families, KBT-11 Sagehorn with Triple Sword, Biped Legs, and Generator leg ability, and a KWG-11 Hirschkapper with Triple Rifle, Biped Legs, and the Radiator leg ability. Now, between these three, you really can't ever go wrong with any one of the three, being completely honest with you. Horny Devil's biggest perk in particular is Wheeled Legs with Desert-type terrain, which means it's going to be incredibly invaluable on terrains where Flight Legs really pretty much have the only advantage, and the risk to using those on that terrain is someone packing anti-air. Wheeled Legs will allow you to bypass that and not even have to worry about it, and even without that packing in as an effect, it's still a pretty solid and speedy pair of legs to raise and make use of. One of the few 1-star parts I would absolutely recommend capping to 5-star, just to have on hand just in case you do need it. Sagehorn and Hirschkapper, on the other hand, both fantastic and solid all-round conventional pairs you generally can't ever go wrong with using. Triple Sword, Triple Rifle, you really can't go wrong any way you put it, whether you use them as pure sets or as mixed parts. And it's for these reasons I do have to say any one of these three models, plus Shisaku 2 from the first batch, you really can't go wrong with picking as a model to farm for or raise, and try to cap out as high as you can. Now, for newcomers, absolutely you want to go after all 6 of these just for the sake of having the parts. But if you want to focus on one or the other, any one of these three or Shisaku 2 you really can't ever go wrong with using for the fantastic and well-rounded stats that they offer, especially if you are just starting out. Now, in terms of event stuff going on, we do have a daily dungeon that will become available this week, featuring the Laurel Detective Agency, which was the main central cast of Medarot 8 for the main protagonists, as well as new daily missions available. Now, these missions are honestly super simple. Complete PvP, do a super invasion, do your daily missions, change your BGM once, color a Medarot part, whatever the case may be. Very simple stuff, and the rewards are very lucrative, as it does give you the opportunity to collect more ruby shards and gacha tickets for the permanent banner to stock up on any extra parts you need or any cyclasium, if that is indeed your go-to with that. Lastly, with that, we also have a new Super Invasion that, of course, is going live as well, honoring the anniversary of Medarot 8. No real thing on what those rules might be or how many floors will be in it, but I do anticipate it is going to test the absolute metal and limit of all Medarotters involved, given that it is an anniversary type, and assuming it does follow the same pattern as the Medarot DS anniversary one we had a good couple months ago at most. Lastly, we do also have a new rare rank Medarotter that will be joining the permanent banner, if I did read it correctly, and that is, of course, Phantom Thief Jill, who is one of the main antagonists of Medarot 8, specializing in a cool bonus of plus 225 to cool when using Charge Blade in specific, which will make it pretty solid if you do want to make use of that and capitalize on it heavily. In addition to other events going live, we do also have Marathon Survival making another rerun, again focusing on Medarot 8 and celebrating the anniversary. For those that are new or uninformed, Marathon Survival is a very simple event, but incredibly lucrative once you get into it and understand the swing of things. Explaining it briefly, upon completing a round of upon victory in a Marathon Survival round, all the parts you use will be added to a banned list, which means you are not allowed to choose them again unless you clear the survival or you reach a checkpoint, of which anything in your banned list will be refreshed and you are free to use the parts again. So essentially, not only is this lucrative for sake of rewards, but it's also really good. It's a really good check to make sure that you've been raising other parts or paying attention to using things that you perhaps may not use super often, if at all. And essentially is a check just to make sure and test how flexible you are with team builds when it comes to making the most of seeing how far you can go. Hence the survival and the marathon bit. Lastly, the other really big piece of news that I did announce, if I did read this correctly, is we are getting a new BGM bundle that will be made available for purchase in the convenience store. Much like the first one we did have for the 2.5-year anniversary with the Medarot 1 BGM bundle, this one I'm expecting will be relatively the same if I did read it correctly. And a lot of the main tracks they are highlighting in this one, of course, are soundtracks from Medarot 8, highlighting in particular Towards Victory, which is the Row Battle theme, Eternal Darkness, which I believe was the final boss theme, Detective Office, and of course the Medarots theme type M8, which also is a really good thing to listen to in your settings or when you're tinkering with parts. It has not been mentioned, I believe, how much this bundle will cost or if or when it will release, but it is something to keep an eye on and keep a very close ear to the ground for once it does officially become live and you want to add more BGMs to your game to make use of and enjoy. On the community front, we are still always looking for translators to assist us with any cleaning, coding, or translating endeavors for projects. Right now, Medarot 3 and 4 are the main spearheads that we are focusing on primarily. Medarot 3, at last check, is about 75% or so completed. Mostly just it's a lot of leftover text that still needs to be translated, but we don't have a lot of people to assist us with that. So if you are knowledgeable in coding or cleaning or Japanese, or know someone that is, and have some time on your hands, feel free to reach out to me or join our Discord in the link provided below, and we can absolutely get you in touch with the right people to fill you in on what has been done and what still needs done up to this point. Medarot 4 is still undergoing early decompilation as we're still trying to figure out where exactly to start before we actually do officially tackle that. And if you do find yourself unable to assist with the endeavors, whether you can't code, clean, or translate, that's perfectly fine too. Also in the comments below is a link to my buddy Variant's crowdfunding page where you can donate to the effort so we can commission and get some payments toward getting a lot of the heavy work done and mark those translations as complete. Because we would love to work on other projects like 5 and Navi and even some of the later titles like DS 7, 8, and 9 maybe, if we can officially get people on the books for it. For the weekly art highlights here on the MNN, I found this one here by a friend of mine at Factory Poco, or simply known as Poco Factory, who recently attended Wonderfest over in Japan, which I honestly and sincerely wish I could attend one day, because honestly, if you're looking for garage-based model kits, that is the best place on planet Earth you could possibly go to for that. And this time around, Poco Factory has been focusing on a new 3D model and print, highlighting a prototype for the Archdevil Medarot, Grain. to go with the Particle Archangel model that they did actually sell at Wonderfest this year. So wonderful work there. I love the LEDs you put in the eyes as well for Grain here, highlighting that very sinister and dynamic look of the model, despite it being a early model and a prototype print, just to make sure everything's working properly. It looks very, very nice and well done. Very clean too. And this piece here by Twitter user Doodlebird14, highlighting a lot of the very popular devil types from the DBL series that everybody knows and loves through the years. Blackmail, Belzelga, and Blossommail, the three main ones, of course, highlighting the absolute death and destruction they can cause, based and holding true to the motif theme that they are. So, wonderful work to both of these two people. If you'd like to see more art, definitely give both of them a follow. You most certainly will not be disappointed to see more Medarot art or 3D prints in your feed to grace your Twitter feeds going forward. But with all that being said, I do believe that covers everything for this week's episode. So, like I said, just a lot of events and a lot of gacha banners or fierce battles this week, kind of breaking some norms to celebrate the anniversary of Medarot 8 on the 3DS back in 2014. But with that being said, if you'd like to know more, you can follow us below on Facebook at the Medarot News Network page, or the Metabots Forever community on there that I do also manage and run when I can. You can also join us on Discord in the link provided and in the comments below, and this will allow you to keep an even closer ear to the ground on the action. This includes any new merchandise, my weekly episodes, fan art, fan translations, or projects or updates. The Discord channel is going to be the first place you hear it before it goes anywhere else going forward. You can also reach out to me personally on Twitter at IsaGamiKura, so if you have any questions or feedback or comments, or would love just to stop in and say hello, I leave my DMs open for that very reason on purpose. So don't be a stranger, stop on in and say hello, and I'll respond to you when I can. In addition to this, if you're a streamer, VTuber, or YouTuber of any experience, brand new, rookie, amateur, veteran, whatever the case may be, and would love to collaborate or make something happen sometime in the future, whether that means having you here on my channel to learn, or even me stopping in on yours for a friendly game or a chat, I would absolutely love to coordinate with you guys. So reach out to me in those DMs and we can most certainly make something happen and coordinate some schedules and see what we can do on making a collab happen sometime in the future. Lastly, but most certainly not least, do give these wonderful friends of mine a follow as well in the Medarotter community. Twitter user Kurojiri Medarot, who is a good friend of mine, who does a lot of very nice things for the community, ranging from fan art to keeping up to date with current news or anything of the like. And Twitter user Mono0, who does a lot more on the art side of things when it comes to being part of the Medarot community. And the art that they have, very nice, cartoony, and soft design. They've been very consistent with doing stuff like that for probably longer than I've known them now, actually, as a Medarotter. And the art that they put out is very nice, always good to see in the feeds, and I always do try to share that when I can. So definitely give both of these people a follow if you'd like to see more Medarot art in your feed or more information on it going forward. But with all that being said, as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping by, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.